Hey!
Hey folks!
In today's video we're going to be looking at how is the best way to carry and store a
camera when
whilst you're bikepacking or cycle touring.
We're also going to look at some of the ways that don't work so well that possibly could damage the camera and aren't so practical.
So if you're a camera lover, you like to take pictures on the road, then this video is for you. Long distance or short distance, on road or off road, big cameras or small cameras. Right, let's get into it.
Action.
So I guess with a camera you want a mix of something where it's going to be practical and you can have your camera out to take photos and videos, and also something which is going to protect it. Especially with expensive cameras, you've got lots of delicate parts within it, you really need to be careful about protecting it. So there are lots of different methods which we have tried and tested for things like bikepacking and bike touring, on road and off road. We've gone through things like panniers, back rack bags, padded camera inserts, tailbags, handlebar bags, Bumbags, rucksacks. We've tried pretty much everything and we now got a pretty good idea of what works well, what's practical and what keeps it safe. And this is exactly what we're going to be sharing with you in this video. Right, so if you're taking loads of photos and videos, the place is probably going to spend a lot of the time is on your body, which is definitely the most practical place because it's right there. It's also very good because it helps to protect the camera. If you're storing the camera somewhere on your bike, particularly if you're off-road or even on tarmac, if you've got so many of these micro jitters which rattle it around and it will constantly be vibrating, which is not good for the camera. On your body absorbs a lot of that, so it might have bigger swings every now and again, but it generally is not getting vibrated around so much. And it's good for like all but very, very heavy rides. Real heavy off-road things, if it's on your front, it does bounce around a lot.
Is that bad if it bounces when it's on your front?
It's not very comfortable, particularly if you've got real kind of like big drops and stuff. It can start swinging around, and also when it's that big it's not going to be too great for the camera. You can switch it onto your back, it's a bit more discreet. I find personally it's more comfortable on the front because if it's banged about on your spine it's not very good. So having the camera on your back doesn't work if you want to wear a rucksack, but it is better suited to people like road cyclists or if you're going to be riding on flatter terrain. You can get camera straps specifically made to keep the camera onto your back. They seem really popular with the right kind of riders. We haven't used them though, but I will link to some popular ones in the description if you wanted to check them out. If it's in bad conditions, mud can kick up. If it's on your front, mud and water can kick up, can damage, you can scratch the lens. It's worth buying a lens filter, just like a UV lens filter. If it's raining, it's right on you, so it's going to get wet. Even if your camera is weather sealed and it's really heavy rain, you're probably going to want to put it away. So quite a nice option is just to sling it around on your front, zip it up in a waterproof jacket, and that's quite a good quick fix, and then take it out. You probably find that the lens is fogged up a bit, but it's just a workaround. Also, in terms of safety for the camera, you probably don't want it on display all the time. This is just kind of showing it to people that it's there. It's quite likely you're going to go through cycles of having it on your body to then wanting to store it away, and we will look at those storage options now. So you probably don't want to have camera on your front all day. Maybe some people don't want to have it on their front at all. You want it in the easily stored place. Where would you say that is?
That easily stored place is a bum bag. That's big enough is a great option because it, again, as Josh said, absorbs a lot of the impact and it's really, really easy access.
So these work best with small to medium sized cameras or action cameras, and if you're not going to have it around your neck, you can just take off the strap so it's a bit easier to get in and out.
So if you get tired of it being around your neck or you want it to be a bit less obvious, you can simply put it in there and away you go, and you can have it on the front or the back. And so that is just a real cheap bum bag, got for about a tenner. You can get obviously more practical ones that are waterproof. Yeah, but you could just put a little dry bag in. And you can get camera inserts which will help protect it, or you can get ones from actual camera brands where they come with inserts. But in terms of if we were going to ride really, really heavy off-road routes, this is safer than on your body, or if it's really filthy weather and it's wet and like mud kicking up all the time. Mud a lot.
Yeah, and you can swing it around to your back and you're going to be absorbing so much of the bangs around there.
Yeah, you can also put a lens in there as well, so if you easily want to switch over lenses, and also a mic as well if you want to be doing filming.
And also you can take it in and out whilst you're cycling.
Yeah, you can just sort of stop and do it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend whilst you're actually cycling personally, but.
So the next option is in a backpack. This, I would say, is probably the best thing for really heavy trails and particularly in bad weather. So I'm not going to go too much into the specific products. I think if you want to see more about the specific products, let me know and I can do a full review. But this is a Low Pro Photo Sport BP 300 AW2.
And that's a specialist.
Which is a camera rucksack. It's designed for hiking, but it's got a padded section inside, and you can easily, here I've got my drone, I've got another lens, like a zoom lens, and then you can just slot the camera in there. Easily do that. And the good thing with this is it comes with a waterproof bag cover, and we've gone through like real heavy storms and it's fine in there. You can smash it around, you could be just thrown all over the place and your gear is fine. The bad aspects of this, a lot of people don't like cycling with rucksacks because they are quite big and heavy. The benefit is that you have extra storage in here, so I can keep additional bits of camera gear, I can keep layers or any other camping bits that you might need, but it is quite heavy on your back. Personally, as long as it's not super hot, I find it's okay. I like to be able to carry my extra camera gear in here, and in terms of peace of mind of keeping things watertight and keeping things safe, I think this is the best option really.
How easy is it to get things in and out of it?
So if you're cycling with someone like Sarah, you can just turn to the side and they can get it out for you. If not, you can't, so you'd have to stop whilst you're cycling, but you could stay stood up with the bike and then flip it around to your front and take things out. So it's definitely not as easy as a bum bag. This, I would say, is definitely catered towards people who are carrying not just a camera but more electronics. So people like content creators or people who are carrying a drone and lenses and things like that, and who want to have an additional element of litre storage. But if you wanted a middle ground thing of just having a more secure place to carry the camera where people can't see it or can be within a waterproof, you could just get a smaller bag or a sling bag and put it in there, have a dry bag with you so it can stay watertight, and that's quite a good option. You can also buy camera inserts which you could just put into any litre rucksack, and that's a really nice way of keeping it nice, compact and safe as well. And I'll link to this rucksack in the description too, because I think it's really, really good for the right type of trips.
Right, so it got really windy, so we came back home to do the second half in the garden.
Moving on to options on the bike. So we don't recommend these options as much because carrying it on your body is sort of the safest and most practical for the camera.
So like bum bags and rucksacks?
Rucksacks, however, they're not for everyone, and there may come a point when you just want to put it on the bike. So one option is panniers.
So panniers are great because there's lots of extra space that you might need for longer term trips, but on the downside you need to fill up this extra space so your camera is not banging around everywhere.
A way to prevent this happening is to have a camera bag or inserts which can help to protect the camera and keep it a bit cushioned.
Yeah, and maybe organise your packing setup so you're storing it with lots of soft things. So you might put your sleeping bag in there.
So you can sort of wrap your sleeping bag around the camera, but then again that does make it even harder to sort of get it in and out. So not a great option if you're someone who's wanting to take a lot of pictures and videos. And it's also going to be prone to bashing on the pannier rack, which could really damage the camera.
So there's more rattle and shake there than it would be on your body.
A lot more rattle and shake.
And so this is why we don't use this method for any types of off-road cycling. And if you are going to store it in panniers and you have front or rear panniers, I'd advise putting it in the rear ones because the back of your bike is likely going to be bouncing up and down a little bit less.
This is great for sort of bigger cameras as well, so you can have smaller or bigger cameras in here, but some of the other options aren't so sort of big camera friendly because of the limited space. So this is good if you do have lots of lens and sort of other electronic equipment because it can fit in here quite easily.
Right, so the next option on the bike are handlebar bags, and I think personally the right handlebar bag for the right type of riding is probably my favourite option on the bike. Ones with side opening bits, these are not really practical because you're really going to struggle to get into it whilst you're cycling. These type of handlebar bags, I wouldn't recommend it unless you just wanted to keep it in there for the whole day. But for top opening handlebar bags, then they're real convenient because you can easily get it in and out whilst you're cycling. This is a Ortlieb Ultimate 6 handlebar bag. So this comes with padded inserts. I think is about 7 litre capacity. So this is really good if you've got other bits of gear. So you can put your other lenses in there, you can put a drone in there. You can get into it whilst you're cycling. It's really, really well waterproofed. And in terms of stuff on the bike, I find that this has the least amount of shake issues. The thing that you want to avoid is if the camera is shaking onto a hard surface, so things like the back rack or the steerer tube, the top tube, if it's bashing against that, it's such a hard thing that it's going to cause damage. But here, because it's a bit dead space, the fitting is really secure. So like this specific one is real easy to take on and off like that. If you went into a shop, you need to pick up supplies, or put this in the basket and just keep that in there. In the tent, you can easily take it off and put it inside the tent. So yeah, I think this is a good option for road riders and people. If you have big cameras, small cameras, top choice, unless it's really heavy trails, off-road trails. Moving further down the spectrum on things I would recommend less. Tailbag particularly is probably not big enough for a proper camera bag, and here I just find that there's so much. You wouldn't want it if it's a heavier camera, you wouldn't want it on the end because there's too much weight on the end, it might start to sag. And if it starts to get towards the saddle, you constantly got this pressure banging against the saddle. And again, things like a rack bag is convenient in that there's loads of space, but the issue is that you're on top of a frame and all of that pressure every time your wheel's going up and down is just going to be bouncing on that hard surface. And if you were going to do this, I would recommend, if you had a big heavy world touring setup with 2 big panniers and then a rack bag on here, if you put your sleeping bag in there, I think that's like not so bad a way to do it.
Final options, I would say these are our 2 least favourite options. Would be the frame bag, not so much space, so not so good for bigger cameras. It can be okay for sort of smaller action cameras, however there is a lot of bounce and shake in here. You can't really put much else in there to pad it, so not a great option. The other one is feed bags.
Feed bags are really easily accessible, and you can get waterproof ones like these Alpkit Lodo feed bags, but for a camera there's just way too much rattle against a steerer tube. We do actually keep our GoPro there, but they are a lot better at taking a battering. I would recommend, no matter what the conditions are, you take some form of dry bag that you can keep your electronics in, just in case the heavens do start to open. And finally, in any bag you're using, any dead space around your camera is going to allow it to rattle around and bang about. So make sure all that space is filled. You can use things like socks and tops or sleeping bags. Whatever you do, just make sure it's filled up so it's not rattling around. And remember, vibrations are bad. Cameras are beautiful and really delicate things, so just try and minimize the amount of vibrations going against hard surfaces on the bike.
Right, so I hope that has been useful. If you're like us, you like to take loads of photos and videos,
Yes.
and your camera's your pride and joy, it's really, really worth protecting it. We have gone through all of these and tried them at different points.
Yeah, and we've set up for the one that we think is the most practical for us. But let us know if there are any other options that you try that really work for you.
And if you want to see more resources, we'd like to share tips and help people ride some more. Yeah? Peace.
Peace.
Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.